Both chambers of Congress are making moves as a possible government shutdown is just days away. And we take a closer look at the potential impact offshore wind turbines are having on marine life. The morning rundown starts now. This is Straight Arrow News, bringing you unbiased, straight facts. Today is Wednesday, September 27th. Thanks for joining us. I'm Kara Rucker. It was a busy Tuesday on Capitol Hill as House Republicans voted to advance 4 conservative spending bills, and the Senate introduced a short-term funding bill as a potential government shutdown looms. The House GOP's bills include federal spending cuts, but would fund the Department of Defense, Homeland Security, state and agriculture departments. But the Democrat-led Senate is likely to turn those down. A government shutdown is days away if the 2 chambers of Congress can't come to an agreement to keep the government funded. Right now, the House and Senate are on a collision course. The House passing spending bills, the Senate looking to pass a stopgap bill, keeping the government open through November 17th. That includes $6 billion in funding for Ukraine, something House Republicans are likely to be against. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy said the House would consider its own stopgap bill. That one would include a border security provision. With 2 separate agendas, the House and Senate are failing to find common ground. They have a few more days to do so in order to avoid a shutdown this weekend. In a ruling Tuesday, a New York judge said former President Donald Trump repeatedly violated state fraud law, misrepresenting his wealth to banks by as much as $3.6 billion. The Attorney General sued Trump and the Trump Organization a year ago, accusing them of inflating values of their assets like golf courses and the Mar-a-Lago estate. The judge said Trump and his organization repeatedly lied on business records and financial statements, leading to favorable loan terms and lower insurance costs. Trump responded on social media, calling it a very sad day for the New York State system of justice. His lawyers say they will appeal the judge's ruling. At least 100 people were killed and 150 more injured after a fire broke out during a wedding in northern Iraq. According to the Iraqi Civil Defense, fireworks, candles, and other materials used during the celebration set off the blaze inside the wedding hall, located 200 miles from the capital of Baghdad. Officials say the building was covered with highly flammable panels. Video from the scene showed charred metal and debris where the hall collapsed from the heat. A wedding guest told local media that the bride and groom did make it out safely. The Iraqi government has declared a 3-day national mourning period following the fatal fire. The Federal Trade Commission and 17 states have filed an antitrust lawsuit against Amazon in a landmark monopoly case. The FTC and 17 attorneys general allege Amazon unfairly promotes its own platform and services at the expense of third-party sellers using their site to distribute their products. The lawsuit alleges Amazon wields monopoly power to maintain higher prices on its website, harming customers and weakening competition. The lawsuit also claims the online retailer buries discount sellers far down in its search results so that they become effectively invisible. In a statement, Amazon called the case, quote, wrong on the facts and the law. Target says it will be closing 9 stores in major cities next month because of theft and organized retail crime. The company says the wave of shoplifting is threatening the safety of its workers and shoppers. Stores are closing in New York City, Seattle, San Francisco's Bay Area, and Portland, Oregon. Target CEO Brian Cornell has been outspoken on retail crime and its negative impact on the industry, saying Target's full-year profitability will reduce by $500 million compared to the year prior due to smash and grabs and shoplifting. Target is not alone. Other stores are also dealing with a rise in looting. On Tuesday night, more than a dozen people were arrested in Philadelphia after police say several businesses, including Apple and Lululemon stores, were broken into and ransacked. Finally this morning, earlier this week, Straight Arrow News released a 2-part series called Against the Wind, diving into offshore wind turbines and the potential impact it's having on marine life. We sat down with investigative reporter Shannon Longworth this week to discuss her special report after the issue was propelled into the spotlight by former President Trump at a rally on Monday. Take a look.
There has only been, listen to this, 1 such whale killed off the coast of South Carolina in the last 50 years. But on the other hand, their windmills are causing whales to die in numbers never seen before. Nobody does anything about that. They're washing up on shore. I saw it this weekend. 3 of them came up. You wouldn't see it once a year. Now they're coming up on a weekly basis. The windmills are driving them crazy. They're driving the whales, I think, a little batty.
I mean, I don't want to laugh because it's kind of, dare I say, crazy. But the windmill story is almost like his Sir story, that he brings it up all the time. He hates windmills.
This man hates windmills, hates wind turbines. So I looked into this. I'm not an expert on whales or what makes them crazy or not crazy, but I can read and I can tell you there is no evidence that offshore wind installations are killing whales or driving them batty, as the former president says.
So Shannon, for months you've been investigating this exact issue, both offshore winds and how it's being politicized. So what would you say after hearing what the former president said, and was he accurate in his remarks?
Look, Kara, some of what he said is not accurate, but some of what he said is accurate and is rooted in credible concern that is being overlooked because it is masked in what he said that it is false, right? They are wind turbines, not windmills. More than one whale washes up on the East Coast each year, or at least did before offshore wind development. However, that reporter says that he did some reading on the subject. He didn't do enough reading to really understand that there is more context to be added to this story. Information from all of the environmental impact statements for these projects, which says that whales can be disoriented from the sounds that are emitted during the offshore wind development process. Now, that's pre-construction, construction, operation sounds. It's very complicated, right? But people aren't going any deeper than the NOAA statements on their website, which say, look, wind turbines are not killing whales. There is no evidence, and there is no evidence because we haven't been looking for hearing damage in the whales.
So if this is a complicated issue, like you say, and it's something that is heavily debated, and you have a former president who is raising what you say credible concerns, why do we have a major news outlet like CNN kind of mocking the former president and bringing this topic up?
Well, look, the Biden administration is very pro offshore wind development. They want 30 gigawatts of offshore wind energy by 2030. So there is this massive push from the federal government to get that done. And many governors in the Northeast are supporting that, many of them Democrats, right? So it's become this politicized issue in the media, but the people that I spoke with on the East Coast, some of them are not necessarily Republican, and they're out there protesting on the beach saying, look, this is something that needs to be slowed down while we figure out what's actually going on with these whales. And that's something to note, is that there is no evidence that turbines are killing whales, but it could be possible. And these developers actually get authorizations to allow them to behaviorally harass marine mammals. So it could be happening. It's just that nobody looks deep enough. So they just laugh at the former president when he acknowledges concerns.
Mm-hmm. Well, you have looked deep enough. You've even traveled. You went out to the East Coast, like you mentioned. You talked to several different experts on both sides of the aisle on this topic. So after your research, you did a 2-part series. It's out on our website right now for people to see. What would you want people to know just about the overall topic, and especially after, this clip from CNN? What do you want people to take away from this?
What I want people to understand is that this is not a black and white issue, and there's no smoking gun, there's no evidence that says, yes, offshore wind development is killing whales. But it's also not something that we should rule out. And I think it's fair for the former president to bring it up because many people are concerned about this, and we are going very quickly into this offshore wind effort. There are going to be thousands of turbines along the eastern seaboard, okay? That's a lot, and there's still so much that we don't know. Whales wash up. Often they're too decomposed for us to see whether they have hearing damage. Some hearing damage is not visible. It's really hard to cut a whale's ear out to find out whether they had hearing damage and they were deaf. So the reality is we don't know.
Bottom line, more research needs to be done, but you've been able to delve into the research that is out there. Again, there is a 2-part series out there. It's called Against the Wind, so be sure to check it out. It's on our website. Thank you, Shannon. That's going to do it for this edition of the Morning Rundown. Be sure to check out more of our work at straightarrownews.com. And you can also find the latest Rundown episodes available as a podcast. We'll see you back here tomorrow. Until then, I'm Kara Rucker. Have a great day.